Shortly. Okay, thank you again. We have with us today Sharday Young. She is a native of Columbia, South Carolina, and a 2013 alumnus of Clemson University. She holds a BA in sociology and a master's in public administration. In her professional career, Sharday has worked in the public and private sector and has eventually found her love of working with students in higher education. In addition to her role as an academic coach and advisor at the Academic Success Center, Sharday also owns and operates Sweet Pop Candy Shop, LLC, which specializes in providing gourmet cotton candy services in the upstate and surrounding areas. So Sharday, we really appreciate you being here. I'm going to kind of let you start, and I will be here. If anyone has questions, you're welcome to add those to the chat. Sharday said it'd be also fine to unmute yourself. If you're a part of the professional development certificate, remember at the end of this to log your engagement type in the professional development certificate platform. If you have any questions or are having any trouble accessing that, please email me, and I will mention this again at the end. So Sharday, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everyone. I'll go ahead and get started. I'll jump right into it and start sharing my screen for the presentation today. Let me actually see if I can get this situated. Out of my element, I am having to work from home today. I'm normally at work in the office, toggling between my 3 screens, so I had to make up a setup today. So let's see if we can get everything situated. And if you can see my screen, please give me a thumbs up. Awesome. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. And again, good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be here with you all today. As mentioned, my name is Sharday Young. I serve as an academic coach and advisor at the Academic Success Center. And I'm also the owner of Sweet Pop Candy Shop. Today, I hope I can share a little bit about me and my small venture, as well as give you some actionable items to complete as you start your own or continue your current venture. So just to give you a little bit of background about Sweet Pop Candy Shop. So it started somewhat on a whim. During COVID, I was working at a different institution, and then we had to take furlough, if you all aren't familiar. So we had to do reduced hours, and we also had to have reduced pay, and that was just simply not going to work for me. And so I decided to see, what part-time jobs were out there to kind of supplement my income, and nothing really suited my fancy. And so there was one day I was sitting home on the couch and I really wanted some cotton candy. And as Heather mentioned before, I am from Columbia, and in Columbia, we have a place we can go if we want, freshly spun cotton candy. And up here in the upstate, we don't really have that option. And so I started Googling, started doing some searching. And after 2 a.m., when I make my best decisions, I just up and decided to purchase a cotton candy machine. And so that's kind of how things started from there. And so again, my hope for today is just to give you a little bit more insight on the things that you can do to kind of help you start your small business or, move your side gig to the next level. And it's basically, I'll be taking the standpoint from giving you all insight on things that I wish I had known going into it. So before we start, if you could please put in the chat, tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you're hoping, or specifically what you're hoping to gain from this workshop. And if you're a student, feel free to throw in your current major and your current year. See if I can find the chat. Awesome. I see folks in there hoping to gain a little bit more insight on building an entrepreneurial mindset. The balance. That's a big one. Yeah, I see some folks have started their own clothing and apparel business. Oh, wow, a dance studio. That's awesome. See some folks that actually know here, so good to see that. Um, Hope to gain more information about the things that one doesn't think about when starting a business. Building a remote online notary business. Okay, some folks interested in starting selling at the farmer's market. I actually um, often set up at different farmers markets. So when we get to the end of the conversation, if you all have any specific questions about those things, feel free to ask or reach out to me individually. And at the end, I'll make sure to put my contact information in the chat for you all as well. Awesome. So thank you all for sharing some of that insight with me. And so to get things started, let's begin to talk about um, knowing your why. So when either starting up your side hustle or your small business, it's important to begin to think about why you're wanting to pursue this path. So are you wanting to do so for extra income? Maybe it's a passion project that will allow you to pursue your passions that your 9 to 5 does not fulfill. Or maybe you simply want more autonomy or want to earn more money. Whatever your reason, it is very important to identify your why so that you can use that information to help keep your commitment and passion for your small business. And so while there's no right or wrong way to embark upon this journey, there are a few things that are important to consider. And so the first thing we'll talk through is your skills and passion. So you'll want to assess your skills, expertise, and passion. Determine what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. This will help you identify viable opportunities and increase your chances of success and satisfaction in the gig economy or as a small business owner. In addition to that, you want to be sure to take into account the risk. So evaluate your risk tolerance level. Starting a small business often involves more financial and operational risk compared to joining the gig economy. So consider your financial resources that you currently have and your willingness to take on any debt or investment and ability to handle uncertainty and potential setbacks. And so next we'll talk through or look at flexibility and autonomy. And so you'll want to consider your desired level of flexibility and autonomy. The gig economy offers flexibility in terms of choosing when and how much you work, while running a small business allows for greater control over your schedule. Um, and in addition to greater control over your schedule, you'll have greater control over like operations and the decision making. So you'll want to determine which structure aligns better with your lifestyle and goals. And speaking of goals, you'll also want to clarify your long-term vision and goals. Reflect on what you hope to achieve professionally and personally. Consider factors such as income, potential, growth opportunities, work-life balance, and overall fulfillment. Assess whether the gig economy or starting a small business aligns better with your aspirations. And so as an academic coach, I often ask my students this question before taking on a new gig or just anything new in general or taking on big commitments. So just think, if you're saying yes to this, so if you're saying yes to starting up a new business or taking on a gig, what are you saying no to? And so taking on this path is no easy feat. So it's important to consider as many aspects as you can before doing so. I am not the best at multitasking, so I'll try to periodically check the chat if you all have any questions. And if for whatever reason, you have a question, I don't see it, feel free to raise your hand and I'll be sure to get to it, okay? All right, so taking a step forward. Again, for the sake of our conversation today, if you already have a gig or thinking about getting one, I want to challenge you to change your mindset. So from today moving forward, no longer think of it as a gig. I want you to think of it as a small business. So doing so can provide several benefits, such as enhancing professionalism and credibility. It allows you to think more in terms of growth and scalability, as well as tap into your motivations and mindsets. Adopting a business mindset shows your clients, your customers, and partners that you are committed, reliable, and take your work seriously. So this can lead to increased trust, more referrals, and better opportunities. Treating your side gig like a small business allows you to think long term and plan for the future. This mindset opens up possibilities for hiring employees, automating tasks, or pursuing larger contracts or projects. Most importantly, considering your gig as a small business fosters a proactive and entrepreneurial mindset. It encourages you to set goals, take initiative, and be accountable for your success. This can provide motivation, a sense of purpose, and a drive to continuously improve and excel in your work. Before we hop, I guess, into, the next steps in terms of what you should do or things you could consider. For those folks that don't necessarily have an idea of what they're wanting to pursue just yet, we'll go over some of the typical side gigs that can easily be transferable into creating a small business. And so the first one is freelancing. Some of you may be familiar with what freelancing is. But just know many individuals start as freelancers in fields such as writing, graphic design, web development, photography, or consulting. With time, freelancers can build a client base, expand their services, and eventually transition into a full-fledged small business. There are a lot of folks that create like handmade products and artisan products. Creating and selling handmade crafts, artwork, jewelry, or other artisan products is a popular side gig as well. As demand grows, individuals may establish an online store, participate in craft fairs, or collaborate with local retailers to turn their hobby into a small business. Event planning is another one. And so organizing events such as weddings, parties, or corporate functions can start as a side gig. With experience and satisfied clients, event planners can establish a reputation and expand their network and grow their business to offer a range of event planning services. Another popular one is personal training and fitness instruction. Many fitness enthusiasts begin by offering personal training or fitness instruction on a part-time basis. As their client base expands and they gain certifications or specialized expertise, they can transition into operating their own fitness studio or training facility. I think in the chat, we also saw some folks that were interested in opening up their own like cookie business or baking business. And so we'll talk a little bit about food and baking here. And so food, baking, cooking, or catering can be a side gig that turns into a small food business. Individuals may start by selling homemade goods at farmers markets or local events and gradually expand to open maybe even a food truck, a cafe, or a restaurant. And then online retail. So starting an online store, whether through a platform like Etsy or building a custom website is also popular. As you start to develop your product line and your marketing strategies along with your customer base, it'll be, easier for you to start to scale up your operations and establish a successful e-commerce business. These are just a few examples and the possibilities to turn your small business or to turn your side gig into a small business is diverse. But the key here is to identify your market need, deliver high quality products or services, and gradually expand your operations as demand grows. So I'll take a brief pause right here for some of the folks that have already started, with their ventures. Where are you in your process? Have you already launched? Are you figuring out, how you can scale up? Any information you can provide would be great. And I'll check the chat for your responses. Okay, somebody said they've already launched, looking to increase outreach and awareness. Soft launch, but struggle to keep up during the school semester, yeah, that's tough. And it's similar, with folks that have a full-time job. I think what a lot of people don't realize is, or at least going into it, I didn't necessarily realize just the amount of work it would be and how to balance it all. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Still in the research, evaluation, and planning stage. We'll talk through some tips that can help with that market research as well. Let's see what else we got. Okay, trying to figure out new ways to advertise. Advertisement is tricky. So for me, and I'll just be completely transparent here, I am pretty much running this business on my own. I do have a team of 4 that I often rely on to kind of help in different areas, but I think, it's important to kind of figure out where your strengths are and be okay with reaching out to, let's say if you know somebody that's good in marketing, reaching out to see if they have any tips and tricks that can help. And then we'll also, well, I don't think I have this outlined in my presentation, but the power of social media, you would be surprised at how many folks have found me and my business just based on social media and folks spreading that information online as well. I do know like Facebook and Instagram, like you can do targeted marketing. So that's something that's out there and available for folks to use as well. Right, so we will continue. Thanks for those that decided to share. Um, so what now? Um, Now that we are all thinking in terms of factors to consider around starting your business, we will transition to discussing actionable things you can do to help get you started to promote growth and expansion. And I think in the chat, somebody mentioned, they were still in the research phase. And so the first thing we'll talk through is market research. So market research is crucial for a small business as it provides valuable insights and information about the target market, industry trends, customer preferences, and competitive landscape. It helps business owners understand the needs and demands of their potential customers. It'll also help identify market gaps or opportunities. And it will also help you make informed decisions about product development, pricing, marketing strategies, and business expansion. By conducting thorough market research, small businesses can minimize risk, validate their business ideas, tailor their offering to meet customer needs, and ultimately increase their chances of success in the competitive marketplace. Please keep in mind that there are several ways to conduct your market research, but at the very basic level, you'll want to begin by defining your research objectives and identifying your target market. Utilize a combination of primary and secondary research methods, such as surveys, interviews, competitor analysis, and online research to gather data on customer preferences, industry trends, and market size in the competition. The Small Business Administration provides market research tools that you can use online for free, some of which are shown on this slide. Once you've collected your data, analyze it to gain insights into customer needs, identify gaps or opportunities, and make informed decisions. The aim is to gather relevant and accurate information about your target market, enabling you to make informed decisions that align with your customer demand and maximize your business's potential for success. So I didn't mention the Small Business Administration. Later on in the presentation, I will give you a link so that you can access some of these market research tools on your own. After conducting your market research, you'll want to create a business plan. How many of you have already created a business plan or have a business plan in the works? Awesome. I will tell you that was the hardest thing for me. Creating that business plan, it's something that I'm consistently having to work on. So folks that have not created it yet, I would encourage you to at least start. And what we'll do, we will actually talk about the 2 different types of business plans there are out there. And so again, having that business plan is crucial because it provides a comprehensive roadmap for your entrepreneurial journey. It helps you clarify your business idea, identify target customers, and define what your strategies are for success. With a well-crafted plan, you can make informed decisions, set realistic goals, and effectively manage your finances. A business plan serves as a valuable communication tool, enabling you to convey your vision to potential investors or partners. By outlining your objectives and strategies, a business plan not only increases your chances of securing funding, but it will also allow for adaptability and flexibility as you navigate the ever-changing business world. So again, as I mentioned, there are two different types of business plans, and the type that you use will depend on your intended audience. So more or less, what's the intent behind you creating that business plan? So the first one is the traditional business plan, and these are comprehensive and detailed. They cover various aspects of the business, including market research, financial projections, any detailed descriptions of the products or services you provide. They have a long-term perspective and are commonly used to secure funding from investors or lenders. So if you ever find yourself in a point where you're wanting to, request like access to a business loan or grants, typically these folks will want to see that traditional business plan. Traditional plans require extensive market research and provide a thorough understanding of the business environment. For those that haven't actually started crafting a business plan yet, I would encourage you to potentially start with the Lean business plan just to kind of get your feet wet, essentially. And so the Lean business plans are concise and focus on the essentials. They prioritize clarity and actionability. Lean plans are designed to be flexible and adaptable, allowing for frequent adjustments based on feedback and changing circumstances. They serve as an internal management tool, and they can help guide your day-to-day operations and decision making. And so what we'll do now is just to look a little further into the different components. On one of the resources I'll send to you later, they actually have like templates you can use, and you can also see sample business plans there as well to kind of help craft your own. So let's take a look at some of those basic components of the traditional business plan and their significance. So the executive summary, this is a concise overview of your entire business plan. It'll highlight key points, capturing your reader's attention. It will also present your business's unique selling proposition, so market opportunity, competitive advantage, and any potential for success. That second component there is the company description. And so the company description, that's essential because it'll tell more information about your business, including the legal structure, location history, mission statement, and the ownership. And so what it'll do is set the foundation for giving your readers a better understanding of your nature, the purpose and value proposition. And so that third component is market research. And we've talked a little bit about market research. And so market research, it demonstrates that thorough understanding of your target market, the characteristic trends and opportunities. It involves analyzing the industry, identifying your target audience, evaluating competitors, and assessing your market demand. This information validates the business viability and potential for success. Your industry analysis will take a look at the broader industry in which your business operates. And so this will include your market size, the growth rate, any trends, regulations, or risks. It'll also help your reader understand the competitive business of other businesses that are in the same industry. Let's see, detailed description of your customer. So you'll want to describe your target customer in detail, including any demographics, their buying behaviors, specific needs of the customers, as this will help tailor marketing strategies, product and service development, and how to gain more customers. And again, that list of market research links that we took a look at before, some of this, you may be able to use those resources to get better understanding of your target customers, or maybe it's potentially once you sell an item and you have that contact information for your customers, maybe you're sending them surveys just to get more feedback so you can start building that list of information based on your customers. You also have company advantages, and so you'll want to highlight any company's advantages or unique selling points, such as specialized skills or strategic partnerships this distinguishes it from competitors. You'll want to clearly articulate these advantages by convincing the readers of your business competitive edge and your strong market position. All right, before we take a look at the lean, let me take a quick look in the chat, make sure there's nothing there. Before we continue, what questions can I answer for folks? Feel free to unmute yourself, and I can try to get those questions answered to the best of my ability, or throw them in the chat. All right. Okay, biggest tip for work-life balance. We will actually talk through that a little bit here in a second. But before we get there, I guess from my own personal perspective, the biggest tip for work-life balance is basically, figuring out what you can handle before you kind of embark on this journey, figuring out, your time commitments. And we'll talk a little bit about, prioritizing your time and time management as well. Because, once you figure out how much time you want to dedicate to your other priorities and your small business, I think, sticking to, a schedule, I think can also help with that. But that is a great question, and we will actually get to that here in a little bit. All right, so I don't see any other questions, so we'll talk a little bit more about the lean business plan. And so the lean business plan, it can help prioritize clarity and actionability. Lean plans are designed to be flexible and adaptable, allowing for frequent adjustments based on feedback and changing circumstances. They serve as an internal management tool because it can help guide day-to-day operations and decision-making. This lean plan offers a focused and practical approach to entrepreneurship, emphasizing action, adaptability, and efficient resource utilization by prioritizing execution and immediate implementation. It allows entrepreneurs to move forward quickly with their business ideas. With this flexibility, a lean plan enables adjustments and refinements based on market trends and changing conditions. It serves as an internal tool that can foster effective communication within your team and provide a framework for entrepreneurs to navigate the challenges of starting and running a business. And what you see here is an example of a lean business plan. Again, when looking at the lean versus traditional, the lean is something that you'll keep more in-house. Whereas, if you are seeking funding, you don't want to take this lean business plan to a lender because that's not what they want to see. And so next we'll talk through choosing a legal structure and registering your small business, as this is a crucial step. So the legal structure you select determines factors such as your liability, taxation, and ownership. Common legal structures for small businesses include sole proprietorship, partnership, and limited liability company, incorporation. Consider factors such as personal liability, complexity, flexibility, and tax implications when making your decision. And so we'll break down these three a little bit further. Sole proprietorship is the simplest and most common form of business ownership. In this structure, the business is owned and operated by a single individual who assumes all risks and liabilities. The owner has complete control over decision-making and business operations. However, please keep in mind that the owner is personally liable for the business's debts and legal obligations. Um, in the long run, as your business grows, I do think it's best to kind of move out of that sole proprietorship. But if you're just wanting to, go ahead in and um, just kind of get your feet wet essentially. There's nothing wrong with starting off as that sole proprietorship, but just, keep in mind that you will be assuming all the risk from the business. The second one is a limited liability company. And so an LLC is a legal entity that provides limited liability protection to its owners, known as members. So this means that the members' personal assets are generally protected from the business's debts and liabilities. LLCs offer flexibility in terms of management structure and taxation, allowing members to choose how the business is managed and how profits are distributed. It combines elements of a corporation and a partnership, providing the benefits of both. And one thing that I didn't necessarily know when I started out is that they have different member, I guess, structures for LLCs. And so you have one that you can create an LLC for your business and you be the sole member. And then there's also one where you have multiple members. And so the sole member LLC provides you a little bit more protection than if you were just under a sole proprietorship. The last of the three structures is a corporation. And so a corporation is a separate legal entity from its owners, known as the shareholders. It offers the strongest form of liability protection, as the shareholders' personal assets are typically shielded from the business's debts and liabilities. Corporations have a more complex structure with shareholders, a board of directors and officers. They have distinct legal rights and obligations, and their taxation is separate from the shareholders' personal income. All right. So once you've chosen your legal structure, you'll also want to register your business with their appropriate government agencies at the federal, state, and local levels. This typically involves obtaining an employer, employer identification number, which is referenced as an EIN from the IRS, registering for state taxes, and obtaining any necessary licenses or permits. It's essential to research, and comply with specific registration requirements in your jurisdiction to ensure legal compliance and protect your business. And so an EIN, we'll go through and kind of break these down a little bit, just in case you all aren't familiar with what these mean. An EIN is a unique identifier issued by the IRS to businesses for tax purposes. It is important as it allows businesses to open a bank account, file taxes, hire employees, and establish credit. You can easily apply for one of these on the IRS's website. I'll have some links at the end here to kind of give to y'all so that y'all can access that information. Dun & Bradstreet was something that I had never heard of and had to do a little bit of research to really get a better understanding of what this was. But, it's something that not a lot of people talk about, but it's information that I somehow found on the Small Business Administration website. And so the Dun & Bradstreet is a business credit reporting agency that provides credit scores and reports for businesses. It is important as it allows businesses to establish and build creditworthiness, which can impact their ability to secure loans, partnerships, and favorable terms with suppliers. And so depending on your type of business, you may be required to have a license. Keep in mind that certain services and selling of products typically require a license or some type of sales permit. These licenses and permits are important because it ensures legal compliance, avoids potential penalties or fines, and builds trust with customers. Small business insurance is important to have no matter the size of your small business. There are various types of insurance policies designed to protect businesses from financial losses due to property damage, liability claims, or other unforeseen events. And so you would honestly be surprised at just the simplest things that could potentially happen or go wrong. I know earlier someone mentioned, trying to get into like the farmer's market scene. You would, I could honestly blow your mind with the number of flying tents that I've seen that could have easily injured someone. And I've known of certain circumstances where, a small gust of wind came through and tents went flying and individuals were injured. And because of that, some small businesses had to file claims. And so again, it's one of those things where it's better to be safe than sorry. So just go ahead to make sure that you do protect your business with getting that insurance. Any questions at this point before we kind of touch on um, some of the things you can do, especially in terms of, balancing that work-life balance? All right. So as you can see, while it can be rewarding to starting a small business, it has its challenges. And if you're running it alone, can eventually lead to burnout. So for me personally, it comes and goes in waves. There will be times where something happens and I then become really motivated to do something even greater in my business to get to the next level until I experience a setback. This is why it's really important to incorporate reflection, anticipate any likely obstacles, or as we like to call them in our coaching space, those near wins, because balancing both commitments to your full-time job, your small business, as well as your commitments to friends and family require effective time management as you need to juggle work responsibilities, business tasks, and personal obligations. The demands of a full-time job in small business can be physically and mentally draining. It becomes essential to prioritize self-care. You'll also want to make sure you maintain a healthy work-life balance, and find ways to recharge, to avoid burnout. And so, one thing I constantly have to do is going back and remembering my why. And so there are times where I get to the point where I'm just like, this is just team too much. And so it's okay to step back briefly, but give yourself that time and space to recharge and then go back, you know, sit back and think about why you started this in the beginning, because that is essentially what will help you to continue moving forward. With that work-life balance piece too, and I didn't mention this earlier on, but if you are working a full-time job, are you going to decide to disclose to your employer that you do have other commitments and such as starting a small business outside of that time frame? Me personally, gratefully, my employer is okay with that. And so I sometimes, use the vacation time. So I'll use vacation time that I've earned up and use that specifically to plan and do things that I need to do, for my small business. One thing that I typically talk to my students about in academic coaching is knowing your biological prime time. And I think this can be helpful for you in this way as well, because honestly, so for me, my biological prime time is not 5 to 9. It's mainly like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And I have to be to work at 8 o'clock. And so what I have done before, is prioritizing my biological prime time from like that 6 to 7 a.m. window, just to focus on things I need to focus on for my small business as well. And so with multiple responsibilities, again, it can be challenging to prioritize tasks effectively. And so you'll want to make sure you set clear goals and make sure those goals are something that you can actually implement, make sure that they are attainable, time limited. So set a specific time frame to the goals that you set. You'll want to establish priorities, what's most important, and practicing focused work techniques, so such as time blocking or task batching. Some people also refer to this as chunking. So if you have a big task or something that you need to do for your small business, set up those mini deadlines. so that you can complete them all within a certain time period. Because all of this, again, it can help productivity and ensure important tasks are completed. You may even want to consider the fact that, if you're running your own small business, you'll have to transition between roles of being an employee and being a business owner. And this can also be very mentally challenging. So it requires the ability to switch mindsets, adapt to different work environments, and manage expectations from both sides. Again, which is why it's very essential to build a team or at least have people around you that can support you in your endeavors. And again, don't be afraid, to reach out for help for the folks that you trust. And so as that workload increases, it may become necessary to delegate tasks or outsource certain aspects of the business. However, finding reliable and trustworthy individuals or services and effectively delegating responsibilities can be a hurdle that requires careful consideration and planning. So again, if you don't take away anything else I say today, please be sure to take the time to reflect. If not at the end of each day, then at the end of each week to think through, what's working well, what's not working well, and write some of that information down. And so just remember that your well-being is as important as the success of your venture. Embrace the power of self-care as a necessary tool for resilience and longevity. Take moments to recharge and to reconnect with your passions. Prioritize rest, seek support from loved ones, and practice mindfulness to cultivate balance and clarity. Remember, self-care isn't a luxury; it is fundamental. It's a fundamental investment in your own sustainability. So embrace self-care as an integral part of your entrepreneurial journey. So this kind of concludes my presentation. At this point, what questions can I answer before I briefly go over resources? Questions, comments, anything I didn't address that you're wanting to know a little bit about?
I have a quick question.
Okay,
Would you be able to put those two links in the chat so we can bookmark them?
absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem.
This was very informative. I really appreciate you taking the time to give us your thoughts.
Thank you. No problem. Glad I could help. All right. If no other questions, I will go ahead and throw these links in the chat. Let me see, I actually have a document that I can share. I'm going to pause or stop screen sharing very quickly so that I can get this information sent over to you all. While I'm doing that, if you have any questions, feel free to just hop in, throw them in the chat, or unmute yourself to ask. All right, I have just dropped a resource in the chat. If you can, feel free to give me a thumbs up if you're able to open that. I know sometimes Zoom acts a little wonky with file sharing. Awesome. Okay. All right, so what I'll do, again, we'll do like a brief run through of some of the resources that I went ahead and threw in the chat. Let's see. Let's see. So that first one on that list is the EIN And the way to access that information is really just through the IRS's website. I know that can be a scary place for some folks, me included, but that is the way that you can go in and get that EIN set up. Just know that they do have certain hours of operation. And even though it is an online process that you have to apply for that, if you try to go into the system after 10 p.m., it's going to tell you that you can't actually do it. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. The Dunson. Okay, there we go. The Duns and Bradstreet website, it's pretty user-friendly. It has step-by-step instructions on how you can go through and set up your profile. There are a couple things that you have to have in place before you do that. So just be sure that you do read through this information. My favorite resource, honestly, is probably the last three that we'll take a look at. So the South Carolina Small Business Development Center. Fun fact, there are South Carolina Small Business Development Centers all throughout South Carolina. And the one for Pickens County is actually on Clemson's campus. So if you go to locations, and click on Pickens County, you'll see the representatives for the Clemson area one. They were originally set up in Serene Hall, but I think recently they moved to the School of Business. So feel free to utilize their expertise. They also have information on here. So they have different training events that you can go to. So if you're interested in like figuring out how to create like or to get, what is it called? Like state or government contracts, they typically have like workshops and seminars on those. They also hold like seminars if you're needing more information on what to do in terms of how to file like business taxes. And they also, looks like there's one coming up regarding digital marketing. So again, feel free to browse through these websites as there are a ton of information there. The South Carolina Business One Stop. If your business will be in South Carolina, you want to get familiar with this website because it takes you step by step through everything that you need to do, including registering with the state secretary. And so this is essential. There is a fee associated with it. Once you are there, it takes you through the different so like filing or your business structures. You can also do like a quick search to see, you know, if a business has registered with the state secretary. So you can do like a business lookup. And so for example, just do the suite, candy shop, which it'll show, oh, it didn't show, just kidding. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Oh, by agent name. I'm going to be so embarrassed if nothing comes up. Oh, there we go. Okay. So again, it'll go in and show you, you know, what businesses have been registered. And that's another thing to kind of keep in mind too. So like if you're oftentimes, you know, dealing with customers, they can easily go here just to see, you know, is your business legitimate? Have you registered with the state of South Carolina? They're typically, you know, I understand we have some students on the call. This process may look a little bit different depending on your state. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And so lastly is the Small Business Administration. This is honestly where I spent a lot of time and effort and research because it gives you like information how to plan your business, write your business plan, calculate startup costs. You'll definitely want to bookmark this page because it'll go a little bit more in depth on the things that we kind of touched on. So I will go ahead and stop sharing. As that concludes my presentation, I hope you all were able to get, good content out of today. It looks like we did have a question in the chat. Do you have any suggestions or tips for naming your business? Honestly, I think it's, really more so where your interests are. You'll want to do something that's somewhat unique. And I think, that searching the registered agent resource can be helpful because you don't want to name your business something that's already out there for folks to be confused by. And so again, in here, they do have that option. You can just do, I don't know why I didn't show like so you can search existing entities. And if you have a name in mind, I'd encourage you to just go in and kind of type it in there to see if there's a name similar to what you're interested in. Any other questions I can answer, or what other questions I can answer before we hop off?
Sharday, thank you so much for this valuable information. I was looking at those resources. They are really great. I know that our students are getting a lot out of this. Just as kind of a wrap up for anybody who is involved in the professional development certificate program, make sure to log this in your personalized landing page. If you're having trouble accessing that, please let me know. I'm going to put my email in the chat. And we just really appreciate it. This will be posted on our YouTube channel. And that way, if you want to go back in and see some of the valuable resources that Sharday has given to us, we would really appreciate it. But feel free to let me know if you have any questions. And Sharday, thank you again so much. We really, really appreciate your valuable information and time.
No problem. I've also thrown my email in the chat if folks were interested in that.
Great. Thank you.